Hello and welcome to the Live From Rest podcast, and this is episode 35. I'm Steve Smith and I'm the author of the Live From Rest Christian meditation app. This is my lovely wife Lucinda. Welcome, Lucinda.
Thank you.
And you've joined us several times before on these podcasts, and this time we're going to be looking at The Red Thread, your new book. This is the very first Live From Rest publication, The Red Thread, and I'm hoping that in the future there'll be a few more, but we thought we could talk a little bit about the book, didn't we?
Yeah.
We developed the Live From Rest app because we needed it. We think you might need it too. So if you haven't got it already, please go to livefromrest.com where you'll get links to the App Store or Google Play, and you can download it for yourself. Find meditation rooted in the way of Jesus. So Lucinda, you've written this book. It took you a few months. What was the? Tell us what was behind it all.
Yes, I didn't just sit down one day and start, once upon a time sort of thing. It's really the product of years and years of my own journey of coming to terms with who I am really and who God is really as he reveals himself in the Bible. And I wrote the book because it is my belief that I don't think that as Christians, unless we really know who we are and live from that place, unless we really know who God is, who he says he is, and unless we know who our enemy is, I don't believe that we can really be free from insecurities and anxieties and fears and all that sort of stuff that often holds us back from stepping into the destiny and the abundant life that Jesus has promised us. And I wrote the book because I just thought, this doesn't get taught really, in our churches on Sunday. But for me, I think it's the most fundamental truth of all, because I think everything is built upon that. How you define yourself just shows up in everything you do.
Sure.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. And you said you are seeking to help us understand who God is.
Yes.
And in particular, we focus on God as Father, don't we, in this book?
We do, because God is relational, and we all would agree with that, I think. But what relationship are we talking about? Is it boss and employee? Is it doctor and patient? It's none of those. So what relationship is it? And the Bible clearly teaches that the relationship that we are invited into is as children and him as Father.
Sure.
And so my challenge to us is, yes, we know that in our heads. We say, yes, God's my Father. But are we living as though he was the best father that there ever was? And actually, what kind of father image of him do we have in our heads? And that's where I think we sort of trip up a bit, because we don't have, I don't think, the correct image in our minds of who he actually is.
Sure. And then, you mentioned the difference between knowing something in your head and knowing it in your heart. And you can have a totally wrong image because of your experiences, perhaps particularly bad experiences of fathers. Even then, you can still just get it in your head, can't you? You can get a correct theology. And I think most people who call themselves Christians would know in their heads and believe in their heads that they're children of God, that they're sons and daughters of God. But that's quite a long way from really living as children. And I like something that you said, that you are choosing to live as though it was true.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something about that?
Yes. Well, I think I came to the point of realising that I just had to make a choice, because I just thought, well, it doesn't feel like he's my father. It doesn't feel like I'm a daughter. I don't know what I meant by that. I didn't have, I suppose, overwhelming lovey-dovey feelings that, God was this wonderful father. But from my understanding of the revelation he gives of himself, he is a wonderful father. And so I made a decision one day. I just thought, well, I've got a choice. I can either live in this place of uncertainty and doubt and allowing all these, lies really to play havoc in my mind, or I can just choose to believe that he is who he says he is and live as though he were my father. And I literally made that choice. I thought, right, this is what he says. Does he lie? No, he doesn't lie. If we think he lies, then we might as well give this whole thing up, because we're not believing in a God who lies. So if he says, I'm a good father, then he is a good father.
Yeah. And I think this is such a massive deal, actually, for every single one of us, because there's so often times when it doesn't feel true, it doesn't feel right. And it's so easy most of us probably know that we've lived so much of our lives on how we feel, don't we?
Yeah.
And so in those moments when it doesn't feel as though God is near, to say, actually, I'm going to live as though he is near. And you're not denying truth, are you? You just
not at all. No. I mean, this is what I do. I in those moments when God feels far away and he doesn't feel close, I acknowledge that. I say, oh, God, you don't feel very close. You don't feel like a father right now for me in this situation, this crisis that I'm in. But thank you that you are my good father and you promise to never leave me. So you're as close to me today as you were when it felt like you were close last week. And I choose to believe that he is as close to me because he says he will never leave me.
And you, in this book, and often when you're talking, you really emphasise, we've emphasised the point that God is a good father, and that what he says is true, and we can choose to live as though that's true. And then also we really need to root ourselves in our identity as children, don't we? You like talking about being a little child.
I do, because I think a small child, a 4-year-old, is a great age that shows us the kind of relationship I think that God wants with us. And that is a dependent relationship. It's not the relationship of a teenager that's rebelling, that's forging their way in the world and is pushing against the parent, for their own, making their own way in their own path. It's a small child. It's a child who is 4 and who doesn't have a care in the world because mum and dad take care of everything. They are his world. They do everything. They are capable of everything. They can mend everything, fix everything, know everything. And I think that's how God wants us to live with him, in relation to him, as a small child. And so, yes, I if I'm going into a difficult situation or there's a difficult conversation I've got to have with somebody, I take the stance, well, I'm only 4. I'm only a very little girl. And so, Daddy God, I need you. And I expect you to come through for me, to help me, to guide me, to lead me. What do I know? I don't know anything. What do we know? We don't know anything. Yeah.
And certainly, it's very scriptural, isn't it? Jesus certainly encouraged us to live as children.
Yeah.
Actually said that if we're going to know him, we have to live as children.
Yeah.
If you're going to enter into the kingdom of heaven.
Yes.
To be like a child.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And there's you in this book, you do actually spend quite a lot of time talking about the devil. And I know that that's a subject a lot of Christians avoid. And I sometimes think we've got to be careful with D words, devils, demons, deliverance. Sometimes people think, well, I can believe in God, but the devil? Are we making too much of a thing, focusing on the devil in this book?
I don't think so. I agree. We mustn't go overboard and see demons everywhere and everything that goes wrong in our lives. We think, oh, well, it's the devil, it's the demons. I don't think that's particularly balanced. But I also don't think it's balanced to ignore him.
No.
Because, again, throughout the Bible, beginning to end, he's there. And he's acknowledged. And Jesus acknowledges him. You know, the early disciples acknowledge him. He is a reality.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't recognise that he is at work in our lives, then, well, I think then we won't ever be free from that, you know, the things that hold us back.
Yeah.
Because we have to recognise how he works. We are given tools and tips, if you like, from Paul the Apostle, Jesus, others, to equip us and prepare us. And I think I know there's a whole chapter in there, but I think it needs to be in there.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And C.S. Lewis said, I don't know which book it was, whether it was the Screwtape Letters, but he says that the devil is equally happy if we're obsessed with him,
Yeah.
or if we totally ignore him.
Yeah.
Both are dangerous, aren't they?
Yes.
And there's, in the Freedom in Christ teaching, I love the analogy of considering demons like germs, if you like. That if we get obsessed with germs, it's really unhealthy.
Yeah.
But if we ignore the fact that germs are there,
Yeah.
then we make ourselves a sitting target, don't we?
Yes. We can get sick, can't we?
You've got some great endorsements. I must say, I am very proud. I'm a proud husband. You've done this book really, really is good, and I so encourage you to get it. And we've got some really great endorsements from all sorts of people. But on this subject of the devil, was it the Bishop of Blackburn?
Yes.
Julian Henderson.
Yes.
He said, this is a book that the devil does not want you to read.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this, Julian, that's a great endorsement. Yeah. So how can we get hold of the book?
Well, it's available wherever you buy your books.
Yeah, wherever you buy your book. So any bookstore,
Amazon, Eden Books, wherever
Barnes
you live.
and Noble,
wherever
Waterstones, wherever you are in the world.
Yes, you just go in and order it, and you'll get it.
and so we'll have a link to this on our website, livefromrest.com. We've also got a web page dedicated to this book.
Yes.
It's The Red Thread, one word, theredthread.world. And so you can get a link from that to get a copy of it.
Yes.
And the other thing to say, if you are watching this or if you're listening to this in the first week of April 2022, we would love you to join us this coming Saturday, which is Saturday the
9th of April.
Saturday the 9th of April. We're going to be doing a online launch for this book at 5 p.m. UK time. We just got ourselves really confused because the clocks have just gone forward, because we know we've got a lot of friends watching this or listening to this in America, and so I think that's 9 a.m. if you're living on the West Coast, and maybe 11 or Western time, Pacific
11,
time. It's in the East. like I said, we're really confused. So if you're in the West Coast, you can have your breakfast and eat your waffles. I wanted to say that. And join us at 9 a.m. And we'll give you a Zoom link from our website. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.